how's it going? My name is Nicholas and I am so excited for this video. As you already know by the title, this will be a Pixar movie marathon sequel. If you didn't know, I did a Pixar movie marathon video 3 years ago, and with over 30,000 views, it's become the most popular video on this channel. And in case you can't tell already by the Pizza Planet sweatshirt, as well as the MU hat, and all of the Pixar movies on Blu-ray and 4K, I absolutely adore Pixar. I love practically everything that they make, and as I plan on majoring in illustration and animation this fall, working at Pixar is the ultimate goal in life for me. I even have a Pixar video essay in the works right now, so stay tuned for that. Pixar has meant so much to me over the course of my lifetime. Their movies have provided me and everybody else with timeless stories that bring laughter, joy, and even sometimes tears to those that watch their movies, especially me. Every summer I rewatch all of the Pixar films and short films, and it's honestly the highlight of my summers. So I figure for this year I'd make a special video for it. This sequel video will be much bigger and a lot more fun than that first Pixar movie marathon video. Not only will I be watching their feature-length films, but I'll also be watching all of their short films, Spark Shorts, TV specials, everything. I will be watching everything that has to do with Pixar, except these two. Sorry. And as I watch all of their films and short films, I'll be providing several different rankings, commentaries, and also talking about experiences I've had with the films after I watch each one of them. I asked my fellow followers on Twitter for suggestions about how to spice this video up a bit, so big thanks to all of those that gave suggestions. I will definitely do my best to follow each one of them as I go along with this marathon. Now, I'm not going to be sitting in my movie room for the next 3 or 4 days straight. I mean, I do have a life, so I won't be watching all of the Pixar films and short films in one sitting. But every single second of my free time for these next several days will be spent watching Pixar films and short films, and honestly, I couldn't be happier about it. This marathon will be broken up into 6 different segments, and the order I state these segments in will be the order in which I marathon all of the Pixar content in. So we're going to be first starting off with the Pixar Spark Shorts. We will then head on to the Forky Asks a Question Shorts. Following that, we will be watching the Cars tunes as well as the Toy Story tunes. After that, we'll watch the 2 Toy Story TV specials. After that, we'll watch all the remaining Pixar short films. And finally, to top off this marathon, we'll be watching all 22 of Pixar's feature-length movies. I know I've talked for way too long already, but I can't stress this enough. This is going to be a big and very special video. Enjoy. So the first segment in this Pixar movie marathon video will be the Pixar Spark Shorts. Pixar has released 7 of them. They're all on Disney+, so once I watch all of them on Disney+, I'll tell you guys my ranking of all the Pixar Spark Shorts, and then I'll also tell you some of my thoughts on them as well. Alright, so I just finished up watching all 7 of the Pixar Spark Shorts. I'm not going to talk about each one of them individually, but I will say some thoughts on the Spark Shorts idea as a whole, as well as some thoughts on just a couple of their Spark Shorts. What I love most about the Spark Shorts is that they're all just such unique ideas. Obviously some are more relatable than others, like with Out or with Loop, but with things like Float and Wind, Smash and Grab, they're just super unique ideas that haven't really been done in any other animated films before. I think they work really well in a short film version instead of having it be like a feature length. I think that short film runtime, like 5 to 10 minutes, I think is just perfect for telling these kinds of stories. And like with all of the feature length Pixar films, you can definitely tell that these filmmakers put a lot of effort and care into crafting these films. I can only imagine that each one of these shorts that these filmmakers made was very special to the people that made them. They all have great messages and themes, and that's just one of the main reasons why I love Pixar so much. It's just that their themes and messages are super great, and you really care about the characters in each one of these shorts. Watching Pearl this time around, I did like it a bit more upon rewatch. I'd only seen it once before, and that was when it premiered on YouTube. I think like last summer, was when it premiered. But I really liked Pearl this time around. Like I said before, I think the themes and messages just about knowing that it's okay to be different, I think those themes just resonate so strongly with that short. And then Float almost brought me to tears. Just when the dad uttered the only spoken line in that short was quite a punch to the gut. It almost brought me to tears, and I think the whole ending just wrapped up that Float short perfectly. And Kipple is by far the best Spark short. He even got nominated for Best Animated Short at the Academy Awards this past year. Just the relationship between the kitten and the pit bull is just so cute and adorable. They're unlikely friends who become friends in the end. I just think it's super cute to watch these two progress throughout the short. So here's my ranking of all 7 of the Spark shorts. Kipple, like I said before, is by far the best Spark short, and all the other ones are super great as well, but Kipple easily takes the cake. So now that we're done with watching these Spark shorts, it's time to move on to the second segment of this Pixar movie marathon, and that is the Forky Asks a Question shorts. Forky was definitely one of the highlights of Toy Story 4 for me. They're all super funny short films, and I honestly can't wait to watch them all again.
What is a lever, huh? What is money? What's money? Hey, Forky here. Next question. What is art? What is time? What is love? Right? What is computer? What is a pet? What is cheese? Good one, huh? What is reading? What is a friend? And to help me answer that is my good friend. What? No!
Alright, so I just finished up watching all 10 of the Forky Asks a Question shorts. Forky is just such a funny character, and it's the same throughout this series. And the best Forky Asks a Question short, in my opinion, is the What is a Friend short. Just the whole shtick with Forky saying, "What? No!" I just think it was so funny to see throughout that entire short when he was referring to the mug as his friend. And after the credits, they added small little scenes as well. I think those were funny as well. A little cherry on the top, if you'd ask me. One thing I absolutely hate about these shorts, though, is the beginning. There's a narration that says, "Forky asks a question." Just the way this person says it is just so weird and cringy to me. I don't know, I always skip that part just because it doesn't sound right to me. It's very annoying. So that's the one thing I don't like about those Forky Asks a Question shorts. But other than that, they're super fun, very entertaining, and a very easy watch as well. So here's my ranking of all the Forky Asks a Question shorts. There's a few I don't really like all that much compared to the other ones, but like I said before, the What is a Friend short is easily the best one out of all of them. So now on to the third segment. We will be watching the Cars tunes as well as the Toy Story tunes. In addition to these Mater Tall Tales, there's a few other Cars tunes shorts as well that aren't related to the Mater's Tall Tale stuff. And then there's also 3 Toy Story tunes. I don't lump these together with all of the other short films just because it would like double the list, and I feel like all of these would get put way at the bottom and then all of the original shorts put at the top. I think that's a weird list, so I keep the 2 separate. It's still going to be weird regardless because there will be 3 Toy Story short films lumped in with 15 Cars short films, but that's just how I'm going to do things for this marathon. So after I watch all the Cars tunes and the Toy Story tunes, I'll give you guys my rankings on all 18 of those cartoons, as well as some thoughts on them as well.
If I'm lying, I'm crying. Small fry.
Alright, so I just finished up watching the Cars tunes as well as the Toy Story tunes. I don't really have much to say about them because to me they're kind of the equivalent of like Saturday morning cartoons that you would just pop on and never watch again and you'd be fine with that. It's kind of the same with these, especially with these Mater's Tall Tales. I've seen them a couple times now, but I really don't. There's really no purpose for me to go back and watch these many more times. I do really like the 3 Toy Story tunes though. I think they're all very fun, and you know, I just love the characters of Toy Story so much. And going back to the Cars tunes, Mater is my least favorite Pixar character. Having to sit through 45 minutes of him speaking was pretty hard to do, but there were some very entertaining Tall Tales, I will say. Heavy Metal Mater was a very fun one. I kept singing along to that dadgum song. It was a lot of fun. I also really like the Tokyo Mater. I think that's a lot of fun with him racing through the streets of Tokyo, and the ending was pretty cool too. And then also one of the Tall Tales, there was a bit of a weird crossover between the Cars world and the Planes world. I really don't like the Planes movie at all. So it's kind of a weird crossover, but I get the appeal for having that short in there. And like I said before, the Toy Story tunes, they're just super entertaining, a lot of fun to watch. So here's my ranking of all of the Cars tunes / Toy Story tunes. All of the Toy Story tunes are at the top because they are far better than any of the Mater's Tall Tales or the, what is it, Tales from Radiator Springs, whatever that crap was. We are now on to the next segment of this Pixar movie marathon, and that will be the 2 Toy Story TV specials, Toy Story That Time Forgot and Toy Story of Terror. These are only like 20 minutes long. I believe one aired in 2013 and the other in 2014. I could be wrong about that, but I've seen these once before, and they were enjoyable TV specials, so I'm sure they'll be enjoyable yet again. Alright, I just got done watching the 2 Toy Story TV specials, and like I said before, they're just mindless fun. It was great to have the original voice cast back for these 2 TV specials instead of just having some random actors try to impersonate the same voice, but these were enjoyable. Not amazing, not terrible, just perfectly enjoyable. I do like Toy Story of Terror, though. This is a lot of fun. Definitely not a scary movie for sure, but to the toys, definitely scary. They're just enjoyable, 22-minute shorts, and that's all I really have to say about it. We are now down to the 5th segment of this Pixar movie marathon, and I am super excited for this segment. We will be watching all of the remaining Pixar short films. I have all 3 of the Pixar short films collections right here. I didn't state this at the beginning of the video, and I just thought about doing this, but what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making 2 separate lists for the remaining short films that I'll be watching. There will be the original short films that I will rank, and then also the movie-based short films I will rank. Things like Jack Jack Attack and Mike's New Car and the Bernie short. All those movie-based short films I'll put in one list, and then all their original shorts like The Blue Umbrella, Lifted, Bow, I'm going to put all those in a separate list. It's about the same amount of shorts for each category, but I think it would be nice to separate the 2 into 2 different lists. So that's what I'm going to do for this segment of the Pixar movie marathon, and I seriously can't wait to rewatch all of these. Some of them are just super entertaining. Some of them even make me cry. They're just amazing short films, and I can't wait any longer to watch these.
Boy. Yeah.
Alright, so I just finished up watching all of the remaining Pixar short films. I love many of their short films. I think they're super engaging and really make you care a whole lot about these characters with just such a short runtime. I'm not going to be talking about every single short film, but I definitely do want to talk about just a few of them. This isn't my favorite Pixar short film, but this is one that's had a pretty big impact on me, and that's Lou. At first, it's just such an entertaining movie where you see, Lou try to stop the bully from doing what he's doing, and there's cool moments here and there where he's trying to escape. Each one of them gets the upper hand at certain points, but then there comes a point in the short where the tables kind of turn, and we find out that that bully was bullied himself, and so the reason why he's bullying is because of what's happened to him in the past. But once he changes his ways, it creates a much better environment for him, and that short has always stuck with me ever since I first watched it. Definitely has a great message as well. And then with Bao, when I first watched that in theaters, it played before Incredibles 2. Yeah, I remember when I first watched that in theaters, when the mom ate that dumpling, there was just a big gasp throughout the entire theater. It was crazy. Everybody was just super shocked about that. But regardless, that ending to Bao was very emotional and definitely got me in the feels. And then The Blue Umbrella is my favorite Pixar short film. I've loved it for so many years. Ever since I first watched it in theaters, the animation is impeccable. The music is great too. It's a very engaging story, like with many of the other Pixar short films. But just seeing the struggle of the Blue Umbrella trying to get to that red umbrella was very interesting to watch, and I got emotional while watching it as well. And then Pixar also has like feature film based short films, and there's plenty of those that I love too. My favorite being Mike's New Car. That's just so funny, super entertaining. I remember watching that short all the time as a kid, and it was super funny back then, and it still is to this day. And another feature film based short film that not many people talk about, but it came out recently, and that's Lamp Life. It's a Disney Plus original. I love that. I think it was great to see a little bit of a backstory with Bo and what happened to her between Toy Story 3 and 4. And I really like that short, so if you haven't watched it, definitely go check it out. It's on Disney Plus, and it's well worth your time. So first, here's my ranking of all the Pixar short films of their originals. Like I said, The Blue Umbrella is my favorite, and then Lou and Bao are definitely up there as well. I really don't like Tin Toy all that much. The baby absolutely freaks me out. And then here's my ranking of all the feature-based Pixar short films. Mike's New Car is at the top. Lamp Life is up there too. Hello everyone, future me here to bring you guys a message. I am just finishing up editing this video, but there is one thing I would like to mention before we move on to the final segment of this Pixar movie marathon, where I watch all 22 of the feature-length movies. There will be spoilers for a good majority of these movies, so if you haven't seen a particular Pixar movie that I'll be talking about, you should probably skip that section, because I'll most likely be mentioning some spoilers in that. I will leave timestamps in the description of this video, so if you want to go to certain films, and also so that you can skip over movies that you may not have seen, please use those to your advantage so that you don't get any of these movies spoiled. So that's just a little PSA for you guys, but hopefully you guys have seen all the Pixar movies. So use the timestamps to your advantage if you'd like to avoid spoilers. So enjoy, guys. We've made it to the final segment of this Pixar movie marathon, and this is going to be the best segment of this marathon by far. I will be marathoning all 22 of Pixar's feature-length movies, starting with Toy Story. And after I watch each Pixar film, I'll tell you guys where it falls in my ranking of all the Pixar films. I'm going to start all over again, and you'll see my ranking progress throughout this marathon video. I'll also talk about some of my favorite moments from the movie. That was a suggestion by the filmmaker, I believe. And also talk about some experiences I've had with the movie and what it was like watching these movies for the first time. This won't be part of this video, but I'll also be watching a lot of the bonus features and special features from many of the films. Working at Pixar is the dream, so I definitely want to familiarize myself with how they make their movies and how things run at Pixar Studios. I won't talk about that in this video, but that's just something I'll be doing after I watch some of these movies. I'm going to stop talking right now, and we're going to get started with the final segment of this movie marathon with Toy Story.
You're my favorite deputy.
Alright, so I just finished up watching Toy Story, and I think this is the general consensus, but this is just such an entertaining movie, super enjoyable, and I love the relationship between Woody and Buzz. I think that started very well with this movie, and just to see it progress over the next 3 Toy Story movies is super great. Like with many other of the earlier Pixar movies, Toy Story was a movie I would watch all the time as a kid. I would even recite many of the scenes and moments from that movie, especially the part where it's my eyes could have been sucked from their sockets. I would say that line over and over again, recreating that when I was a kid. My parents do have footage of that on some old VHS tapes, I'm sure, but yeah, just when I was a kid, this was a super enjoyable movie. I loved it so much, and today it's still enjoyable. Watching it this time really made me want to open up a Pizza Planet restaurant of my own, just to, you know, pay homage to the Toy Story franchise, because that would just be such a cool place to go to. I think this movie is just such a great story about friendship and learning how to adapt to new changes in your life, because Woody just was not ready for Buzz to come into his life as well as Andy's life, but throughout the course of the movie, he learned how to deal with it and eventually, you know, became a great friend to Buzz, and it was just really cool to see that progress throughout this entire movie. And talking about the animation here, it's crazy to think that this movie came out 25 years ago and the animation still holds up really well to this day. One of the biggest things I noticed about the animation was just the attention to detail. Most especially, this is weird, but most especially with like the door frames. There were all these little nicks and scuffs on the bases of these door frames and whatnot. It looked like it was a real thing for sure, and there's just so much attention to detail in this movie. The animation is just stunning. And I gotta say my favorite moment from this movie was the iconic "To Infinity and Beyond" line towards the end when Buzz and Woody were falling with style. That's just such a cool scene, gives me chills every time I watch it. So here's my ranking of the Pixar movies so far. I know it's not a big list because there's only one movie on there, but as of now, Toy Story is my favorite Pixar film. So I am going to be watching some special features now. I won't watch all of them because on the back it says over 90 minutes of bonus content. I really don't want to watch all of that, but I will definitely be watching some bonus features. But after I watch some of those bonus features, I'll be watching the next movie in this movie marathon, and that will be A Bug's Life. I think this is a super underrated movie. Yes, it is much better than Ants. I'm not going to say much of my thoughts now because I'll save that till after the movie, but this is just a super underrated movie, and I always love watching this movie. So we're going to pop this in and check out A Bug's Life. Alright, I just finished up watching A Bug's Life, and I gotta say, this is a very underrated movie. I've always loved this movie ever since I was a little kid, and Flick has been a character that I've related with a lot. I think this is also a really great redemption story too, for the character Flick. Just, you know, at the beginning, everybody didn't like him. At the end, though, everybody was loving him, thanking him for what he's done. I really do enjoy this movie. I do think it is underrated. It's not one of Pixar's best movies for sure. There are several others that are better than this, but I really do enjoy this movie regardless. I think my favorite scene from this movie is when Flick kind of stands up in some of the aftermath of a battle between the ants and grasshoppers, and Flick just says, "Ants are not meant to serve grasshoppers," and goes off on this whole monologue. That scene just gives me chills. It was a great turning point for the character and just a very chilling moment in this great movie. So here's my ranking of the Pixar movies so far. Toy Story is still at number 1, but that will probably change as we go along with this marathon. And the next film we will be watching for this movie marathon will be Toy Story 2. This has been my favorite Toy Story movie. Can't wait to watch it again right now, so let's pop this in and check out Toy Story 2. Just got done watching Toy Story 2, and I love this movie so much. Similar to Toy Story 1, this was a movie I would watch all the time as a kid. Pretty much back to back with Toy Story. I'd watch Toy Story and then immediately watch Toy Story 2. Personally, I think this is better than the first Toy Story movie. I just think it's far more exciting and just such an enjoyable movie too. Getting to see introductions to new characters like Jessie and Bullseye, that was very fun to see. I also like Al in this movie. I think he's a very interesting villain. I gotta say my favorite moment from this movie was definitely the When She Loved Me song. That just makes me cry every time. It's a very emotional scene, and it definitely makes me care a lot about the toys that I see in these movies. I really don't have much else to say about Toy Story 2. I just think it's such an enjoyable movie. I love it from beginning to end. Seeing Woody and Buzz once again is just fun as always. So here's my ranking of the Pixar movies so far. Toy Story 2 takes the number 1 spot, and to be honest, it won't stay at number 1 for too long. Up next, we're going to be watching Monsters, Inc., the Pixar movie released in 2001. Very excited to watch this again, so let's pop this in and check out Monsters, Inc. Alright, Alright, I just finished up watching Monsters, Inc. and I absolutely love that movie so much. It was probably the movie I watched the most as a kid, and to be honest, I just think it's super funny, super enjoyable, and in terms of the humor, I think the best part is the running gag when Mike's face is always being covered up with something, with the TV commercial, with the magazine, his face is being covered. I just think it's super funny. And like with the first Toy Story movie, I would always recreate and reenact scenes and moments from the movie. And this time I actually do have footage of me reenacting a scene from Monsters, Inc. So that was me when I was like 3 or 4 years old, reenacting that scene. I still remember doing that to this day, and I'm glad that I have the footage of that. I've just always thought of it as a super funny and super enjoyable movie, and I still think it's funny and enjoyable to this day. When it comes to my favorite moment of this movie, I really can't pick because a lot of it is just super funny. There's also a great balance of those heartwarming scenes as well, with Sully saying goodbye to Boo. That just makes me super emotional. But all those comedic scenes are super great too. I honestly can't pick a favorite moment from this movie. It's too hard to choose. And when it comes to the animation, the fur on Sully is just incredible. Incredible that they were able to do that in like 2000 and 2001. It's insane. This is something I've only noticed in the past few years, and that's when Sully says goodbye to Boo. You can see tears forming in his eyes, and that's something I didn't notice when I was a kid. But now seeing that as an adult, it definitely adds a bit more emotion to that scene, because I'd never noticed those tears in his eyes before up until just these past few years. So that's just something I've noticed about the animation recently. Here's my ranking of the Pixar movies so far. Monsters, Inc. does take the top spot, and like with Toy Story 2, it probably won't stay at that spot for much longer. I am beyond excited to be rewatching this next movie. This is my favorite Pixar movie, and no other film that I'll be watching during this marathon will top Finding Nemo. I adore this movie so much. Just recently got it on 4K, and it looks incredible in 4K, and I can't wait to watch this all over again. So let's pop this in and check out Finding Nemo. Alright, I just finished up watching Finding Nemo, my favorite Pixar movie. I gotta say, in terms of my favorite moment, I'm gonna cheat here. I'm gonna say 2 scenes from the movie that I really like. The first one is seeing word spread that Marlin is coming to save Nemo. Marlin tells the turtles, and then the turtles tell some fish, and the fish tells some dolphins, and the birds hear it, and then eventually gets to Nemo that Marlin's coming for him. It's such a great scene, and the score is great as well, plays very well during that scene. And then another scene I really like is when Marlin tells Nemo how old sea turtles are. That's just such an emotionally impactful scene for me. It makes me cry almost every time I watch that scene. I just think it's super great. One thing I absolutely love about this movie is Thomas Newman's score. It's probably my favorite film score of all time. Just the Nemo's Egg piece, as well as some other pieces throughout, like Haiku. I just think it's such a great score. It plays a huge role in this movie. I just think it's super great, and Thomas Newman has become one of my favorite composers. He did a really great job with Finding Nemo, and then he also does a great job with Finding Dory too. In terms of the animation, the way that they animate the water is just incredible. I honestly don't know how they did that. I'm sure there are bonus features that say how they animate the water, so hopefully when I watch those I'll learn how. But it's just incredible how they animated that water back in the early 2000s. It just looks so real and so authentic, and hats off to the animators. It's crazy that they were able to do that. I think this is a great movie about fatherhood. Marlin's desire to go through these big and giant leaps and hurdles to save his son, I think is a spirit that everybody should have. It's incredible that Marlin was able to keep doing that. He had so many obstacles throughout his journey of trying to save Nemo, but in the end, he persevered and he got to his son, and I just think that that's the same kind of spirit everybody should have. Marlin is definitely one of the better Pixar characters. He's such a great character in this movie. So here's my ranking of the Pixar movies. Finding Nemo is at the top, and that will stay there for the rest of this marathon. I don't doubt that one bit. Up next, we have a very entertaining movie, and very much looking forward to watching this one again. That is The Incredibles. Very great superhero flick. So let's pop this in and check out The Incredibles. Just finished up watching The Incredibles, and man oh man, is this such a good movie. I'm gonna be real blunt here. I don't think this is one of Pixar's best movies. I know it's almost everybody's favorite Pixar movie, but I just think there's several more that are a bit better than this, but that doesn't mean I don't hate this movie. I still absolutely enjoy The Incredibles, and I just think it's so much fun to watch. I just think this is such an incredible movie, and a job well done by Pixar. I gotta say my favorite moment during this movie is the iconic "Where's my super suit" scene. I could quote that over and over again. I think that scene is just so funny, and it's become super iconic. Now, my experience with watching this movie as a kid, the first time I remember trick-or-treating, I was dressed up as Dash for that Halloween. So back then I really loved The Incredibles, and during the scene where Dash was running through the forest and running on the water, I would kind of recreate that, and I would just run around the coffee table. I still remember doing that to this day. It's pretty crazy. So I definitely liked this movie a lot when I was a kid. I especially loved the character of Dash, and I still enjoy it to this day. I will say though, when I was a kid, the Jack stuff towards the end, when he was turning into like the demon monster or whatever, that completely freaked me out as a kid. That was the one part of the movie I did not like, but besides that, I thought it was a very enjoyable movie. It's hard to believe that we were able to wait 14 years for a sequel. I feel like The Incredibles came out so long ago, and we finally have a sequel to it. I think that's pretty crazy to think about now. Our dreams really came true. I gotta say, Giacchino's score for this movie is absolutely incredible, and I truly mean that. I'm not trying to be, joking or anything with the title, but it really is incredible. I love Giacchino's score for this movie. So here's my range of the Pixar movies so far. I hate to see The Incredibles that low on the list, but there are just several other Pixar movies that I do think are a bit more enjoyable than The Incredibles. On to the next movie, we'll be watching Cars. This was yet another movie I would watch all the time as a kid. Having a movie all about cars definitely is targeted towards a younger audience, and when this movie came out, I was like 4 or 5 years old. I was definitely the target demographic for this movie. So we're going to pop this in and check out Cars. Alright, just finished up watching Cars, and I think this is a very enjoyable movie. The first memory I have of this movie was either seeing a trailer for it in the theaters, or actually going to the theaters to see this movie. I know the first time I remember seeing something from this movie was in the theaters. I just can't remember if it was a trailer for it, if it was the actual movie. I don't remember, but the first time I remember seeing something on movie theater had to do something with cars. So I think that's pretty interesting. I absolutely loved it whenever I watched it as a kid. I even got this big Lightning McQueen toy that would like make a bunch of sounds or whatnot. I might still have the toy, in storage, but I remember playing with that a lot as a kid. I gotta say my favorite moment from this movie was Lightning McQueen and Sally just taking a drive through the countryside with the music playing in the background. I think that was a great scene. And speaking about the music, I actually really like that in this movie. I'm not a humongous fan of country music. I like Johnny Cash. But beyond that, I don't really like country music. But the music that was used in this movie, I thought was actually pretty good. Live as a Highway is a great song. Route 66, another great song. I think the music choices were very great for this movie. So here's my ranking of the Pixar movies so far. I do hate to say that Cars lands at the bottom, but I still think it's an enjoyable movie. Definitely was a lot better when I was a kid. Up next is a movie that I have absolutely loved over the past few years, and that is Ratatouille. I think this has become one of my more favorite Pixar movies for sure. I'm very excited to watch this again, so let's pop this in and check out Ratatouille. Just finished up watching Ratatouille, and I have absolutely loved this movie a lot more over the past few years. I didn't watch this movie a lot as a kid, and whenever I did, I always thought it was, just a simple, enjoyable movie, a rat who can cook, fine, whatever. But as I've rewatched it over these past few years, I've definitely grown to appreciate it a lot more, and I've seen that too with other people on the internet as well, especially when it comes to the themes and messages about the fact that anyone can cook. That has just stuck with me a lot more as I've grown older. I gotta say my favorite moment from that movie, I think this is the same for everybody, but it's, aside from that beautiful ending, I gotta say when Ito eats that ratatouille, that's such a great scene. We see more of the man behind the mask in that scene. I think it was really interesting to see more about Ito and what that food has meant to him during his life. I gotta say my favorite quote from this movie was from Ito. He was writing his review for Gusto's towards the end of the movie. And he says that not everyone can be a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere. I think that's a great quote, and it speaks lots of truth to the world we live in today. Up next, we'll be watching the movie WALL-E, one of the best romance films out there, if not the best romantic film out there. So let's pop this in and check out WALL-E. Alright, I just finished up watching WALL-E, and I've come to love this a lot more ever since I first watched it. I never actually really watched this movie as a kid. I do remember seeing it in theaters, but beyond that, I really don't remember watching it at home much. It wasn't really until I got the Blu-ray a few years back when I really started watching it over and over again. I just think the characters of Wally and Eve are honestly some of Pixar's best characters. The romance between those two is pretty great if you ask me, especially for an animated movie. I think it's also a very funny movie too. Wally is kind of a bumbling idiot at times. Definitely provided for some great comic relief. I gotta say my favorite moment from this movie was Wally and Eve. They're flying around the Axiom. Wally has that fire extinguisher, and Thomas Newman's store is prominent in that scene, and they're just, flying through space, and the store is there, and I think that was a really great scene. Beautiful animation. I love the animation in this movie too. So I really enjoyed this movie. I really don't have much else to say. I do think it is a perfect movie, a masterpiece in my opinion. So here's my ranking of all the Pixar movies. WALL-E isn't as high up as many might think, but it's still a very well-made movie nevertheless. I'm very excited to be rewatching this next movie, and that is Up. I love this movie so much. Even beyond those first 10 minutes, this movie is incredible. So we're gonna pop this in and check out Up.
Is there nothing he cannot do?
Alright, just finished up watching Up, and man oh man, do I love this movie. I've heard people say on the internet that beyond that 10-minute mark, when, we get the marriage life montage, that the movie just isn't as good as those first 10 minutes, but I would have to disagree. I think the rest of the movie is just as incredible as that marriage life montage. There are lots of moments throughout this movie that make me tear up, and I really care for Carl Fredricksen going on this journey. I think it leaves such a big impact on the viewers, seeing Carl going on this adventure to Paradise Falls. I just think it's so cool. Now, my experiences with this movie, I didn't watch this in theaters, and I didn't really start watching it until a few years ago, and before then, I would see the first 20 minutes of it during elementary school and middle school. It was like a Friday party type of thing that we would have at school, and Up was always the movie that would be playing. So I never really saw beyond the 20-minute mark up until just a few years ago, and I'm super glad I've been able to watch the movie in its entirety since, because it's such a good movie. Like I said before, Michael Giacchino's score is incredible. He's easily one of my favorite composers. Another great experience I had with this movie was the last time I saw Up, I got to see it alongside a live music performance of the score from the Minnesota Orchestra, which that was easily one of the best experiences I've ever had with watching a Pixar movie. Seeing that movie in concert with a live performance of the score was just super incredible. Great experience for sure. I gotta say my favorite moment from this movie, there's honestly quite a bit that I love about this movie, but if I had to choose just one part, I think it would be that final shot. That final shot just gets to me every single time. I think it's super great. So here's my ranking of the Pixar movies. Up is definitely one of my favorite Pixar movies. And with Monsters, Inc. and Inside Out, and hopefully with Soul, Pete Docter is definitely one of my favorite directors. Up next, we're going to be checking out Toy Story 3. So let's pop this in and check out Toy Story 3. Alright, just finished up watching Toy Story 3, and like I've said with almost every Pixar film before, I love this movie so much. It was just so much fun to see the toys once again. I think it was a great send-off to the character of Andy as well. I also gotta say that Lotso is easily my favorite Pixar villain. There's just so much to his character. We get to see a lot of his backstory. And I think he was just such a compelling villain, for sure. I do remember seeing this movie in theaters. I saw it with my cousins and my entire extended family. And seeing that movie in theaters truly made me realize what Pixar was all about. It wasn't a studio that was just pumping out generic animated kids films. They were producing experiences that its audience members are going to have for the rest of their lives. Just watching the toys about to be incinerated was so unconventional to see. As a, well, how old was I? I think I was 8 at the time when I saw that movie. It was truly something that I hadn't seen in any other animated film before. I also like the character of Bonnie too. I think she was a great character to be the new owner of the toys. She was great in Toy Story 3, and she's also super great in Toy Story 4 as well. I gotta say my favorite moments from this movie. I really enjoyed Lotso's backstory. Just seeing more about his character. I really enjoyed that scene, but easily the best scene from the movie is Andy parting ways with the toys. Super emotional. It definitely makes me cry. And like I said before, I think it was a great send-off to the character of Andy. Here's my current ranking of the Pixar movies. I do think Toy Story 4 is a bit better than Toy Story 3, not by much though. Alright, the next film we will be watching will be the start of what I call Pixar's bump in the road. We will be watching Cars 2. I don't love this movie. I don't hate it either. It's definitely one of my least favorite Pixar movies, but that doesn't mean I don't hate it. So we're going to pop this in and check out Cars 2. Alright, just got done watching Cars 2. I really don't mind the movie. I think it's fine. But like I said before, it's really not as great as almost every other Pixar movie. I'm not a huge fan of the character of Mater, and basically having him as the main character throughout this entire movie was just a complete mistake. I also really did not like how this is a spy movie, essentially, and not a film that's solely about racing. That's what I really liked about Cars, and even Cars 3. I think Cars 3 does a better job at that. But basically switching it to a spy movie, at the time when I saw it for the first time, I really enjoyed that and absolutely loved that concept. But now, it doesn't work for me anymore. But I still have some fun watching it. I mean, I enjoy some of the characters. Some of the racing sequences are cool, I'll say. But beyond that, it's just a fine movie. I guess my favorite moments from this movie would be those racing sequences, even though half the time it'd always be interrupted by Mater, but those racing sequences and kind of the back and forth between Francesco and Lightning McQueen, I thought was interesting. And then my experience with this movie, I also remember seeing this movie in theaters, and I absolutely loved it when I first watched it in theaters, and for like a year or two after that, my brothers and I would collect cars from the movie, like actual toy cars, kind of like a Hot Wheels type of thing. I'm quite sure we still have them, but we would have like Lightning McQueen and Mater and Francesco, just all these little toy cars. We'd play with them a lot back then. I absolutely loved this movie a lot when I was a kid, and I watched this movie constantly when we got it on Blu-ray. But yeah, now I just think it's an alright movie. So here's my ranking of the Pixar movies so far. No surprise here, Cars 2 is all the way down at the bottom. Alright, up next, this will be the final movie of Pixar's Bump in the Road. They didn't have a big bump in the road, but they definitely had a little bump in the road. We're going to be watching Brave. I also think this movie is fine. I don't love it, I don't hate it, but for the sake of this marathon video, I'll watch it again. So let's pop this in and check out Brave. Alright, just finished up watching Brave, and like I said before, I think it's a fine movie. I don't love it, I don't hate it, but it has definitely gotten worse and worse over the years for me. My experiences with this movie, I remember seeing the trailer for it, and I was beyond excited for this. At the time, I was really into like the Hunger Games, like that had just come out. I think I was reading the books, and it looked like a Hunger Games type of movie with like the bow and arrows to me when I was like a 10 or 11-year-old. It looked like a very epic and exciting movie. I was very excited to see the movie. I remember it was coming out on my half birthday, and I wanted to go see that movie on my half birthday. We never did see the movie in theaters though, and that was one of the few Pixar movies I didn't get the chance to see in theaters. I really get what they're trying to go for, this great mother-daughter story, and there were times where I really felt for these two characters, but for the majority of the time I wasn't really all that interested in those two characters, so it's definitely a bit underwhelming for me, but this leads into my favorite moment of the movie, but where that mother-daughter relationship shines brightest is towards the end, when Merida puts the tapestry over her mom to bring her back. I really liked that scene. That was definitely the strongest part of the movie for me. Another thing I liked about the movie was the three little brothers. At times they were kind of annoying, but they did some pretty funny things throughout the movie, I will say that. So I fairly enjoy Brave. It's not a movie I would probably want to rewatch every single year from now on, but I do enjoy it. The animation is stellar though. It was just only the beginning of very photorealistic animation that they've done. They've done a lot better job in recent years, but I think it all started with Brave, and I think the animation in this movie was super good. So here's my ranking of the Pixar movies. Brave is now my least favorite Pixar movie, but I don't absolutely hate the movie. I still enjoy several aspects of the movie, but I do think it is Pixar's weakest movie. Alright, glad we're done with Pixar's bump in the road, because next we'll be watching one of the best movies ever made. This one right here, Monsters University. So we're going to pop this in and check out not only one of the best animated movies out there, but one of the best movies ever made, Monsters University. Alright, just finished up watching Monsters University, and I have quite a bit to say about this very special movie. My experiences with this film, I watched this movie in theaters with my grandparents, and I absolutely loved it. And at the time, I thought it was better than the first Monsters, Inc. movie. I just absolutely loved the college aspect of this movie, and seeing a prequel to a Pixar property was pretty interesting to watch. And another special memory of this movie, when I turned 12, I believe, with some of the birthday money I got, I purchased 2 Blu-rays, and those 2 Blu-rays were the very first Blu-rays I ever purchased with my own money, and those two were Despicable Me 2 and Monsters University. And these movies I would watch on repeat, back and forth between the two, for probably 2 or 3 months. These were like the only 2 movies I would watch at home, because I had just loved both of them so much. And pretty soon after that was when my love of film really started to grow into what it is today. So in a way, I have this movie to thank for the interest that I hold to this day. And I gotta say, my favorite moment from this movie was the lake scene, where Mike and Sully have a heart-to-heart about what their lives have been like. Mike is just frustrated with the fact that he thought he was special, and if he could work hard enough, that he could be what he wanted to be, but that didn't work out for him in the long run, and thinks Sully is this perfect person, never has to work for anything, but Sully says he's terrified most of the time, and I just love that heart-to-heart that they have during that lake scene. Now, the thing I love most about this movie, like with many other Pixar movies, in addition to the beautiful animation and great direction from Dan Stanley, he is very underrated with what he did for Monsters University, as well as Onward. What I love most about Monsters University is just themes and messages. I really don't know how to say it better than what I wrote in my previous review for this movie on Letterboxd. So I'm just going to read my previous review, and that review really goes into why I think this movie is just so special and resonates with me so much. Monsters University has been on my mind a lot recently. I'll be heading off to college this year, and this film teaches a very valuable lesson about the aspirations a person may have in life. You may spend your entire life having your heart set on one particular goal, but that may not always work out in the end. In Mike's case, his aspirations of being a starer didn't work out, but it led to his calling, that being the coach to the greatest starer at Monsters, Inc. I've just recently been in the same position as Mike, and who knows, this change in my life may lead to my calling, but only time will tell. This film has hit closer to home than any other time I've watched it, and I will never stop loving this Pixar masterpiece. I just came across this video essay on YouTube that pretty much says what I said in that review. It came out years ago, I believe, so I guess I wasn't the first person on the internet to voice this theme that I got from the movie, but that's fine. It's from Bloop Animation. I'll link it down in the description of this video if you want to watch it, but it's a very great video essay. Also talks a bit about Ratatouille and how those two movies kind of relate to one another. So definitely check out that video essay. I think they do a better job of explaining this movie than I did. Here's my current ranking of the Pixar movies. Monsters University is very high up there. Very close to Monsters, Inc. in my opinion, but yeah, I just love Monsters University so much. Up next, we're going to be watching another fantastic Pixar film, Inside Out. Very excited to watch this again, so let's pop this in and check out Inside Out. Oh, that was funny. Check this out, Inside Out. Funny.
Hey, look, the Golden Gate Bridge. Isn't that great? It's not made out of salt.
Just finished up watching Inside Out, and I love this movie so much. This was the first Pixar movie I saw in theaters when I was like a humongous movie and Pixar fan. It took me a while to see this movie in theaters, but I eventually did. The rest of my family saw it without me, which was very nice of them, and they all didn't really like it all that much. So we went to go see it again. I came along this time, and we all really enjoyed it. I especially loved it. I thought it was such a great movie. It has made me cry every single time during those two parts, and it's a very special movie. Definitely deals a lot with the human mind and the emotions that we have. And this kind of leads into what the film means to me, is just that we all need sadness in our lives. We can't go about our day all the time just being happy and super joyful. We all need those moments of sadness in our lives to learn and grow from our experiences. I think this film teaches that lesson very beautifully. And my favorite moments are usually those two scenes that made me cry. Bean Bond's sacrifice, and then also Riley coming home. Those two are just very emotional scenes for sure. Pete Docter has proven himself to be such a talented director, and I am beyond excited for Soul coming out this November, and there's no doubt in my mind that that's gonna get a 5 out of 5 rating for me. So yeah, I love Inside Out. Very great movie. The animation is beautiful. I definitely need to pick it up on 4K because I think the 4K would look absolutely incredible. Michael Giacchino's score is super good as well. So here's my ranking of the Pixar movies so far. It's maybe a surprise to you, but Inside Out does beat Monsters, Inc. and Monsters University for me. I know I was just pouring my heart out about Monsters University a few minutes ago, but I really do love Inside Out. I think it is such a great movie and a very well crafted film too. I think Monsters University is a very underrated movie, but I think this next film is even more underrated, and that is The Good Dinosaur. Absolutely love this movie. Almost everybody does not like this movie. I seem to be one of the very, very, very few people that absolutely loves this movie. So we're gonna pop this in and check out The Good Dinosaur. Just finished up watching The Good Dinosaur, and it seriously is such an underrated movie, you guys. The best aspect of this movie, by far, is the animation. It is absolutely incredible. Very, very photorealistic. It looks like a real, mountainside, looks like real waters flowing. It is absolutely incredible, the animation in this movie. The scenery especially just looks absolutely incredible. I love it. I don't know how they got it so detailed and so fine-tuned, but incredible job by the animators on this movie. I also love the score to this movie. It's very good. And I love the relationship between Arlo and Spot. I know people find it hokey pokey or whatever, but I really liked the relationship between the two. They both kind of tell their backstories to each other with the sticks. I I think that's a great scene. At first, the two really did not like each other because of what Spot had caused to Arlo. But just seeing their relationship grow throughout this movie, and at the end, when they have to say goodbye to each other, tears streaming down their faces. It was a great way to tie the bow with the friendship that was developed between the two of them. And one of my favorite moments from this movie was after Arlo and Spot depart from those three dinosaurs. They start running towards Clawtooth Mountain. The store swells in. I think that's a great scene. Gives me chills whenever I watch it. And my experiences with this movie, this came out the same year as Inside Out, so I was very much a humongous Pixar fan. I got to see this on my birthday, so that was pretty special. But yeah, I've loved it ever since I first watched it in theaters. And it's a great movie about courage and overcoming your fears. Arlo is a character I kind of relate with. Very nervous, very anxious about situations that he encounters, but you know, he develops courage throughout with the help of some peers and mentors and his father. He developed some courage and was able to accomplish some great feats for sure, and very much earned that mark of his. Here's my ranking of the Pixar movies. The Good Dinosaur isn't as high up as it used to be. As of now, I guess it's my quote-unquote least favorite perfect Pixar movie, but I absolutely love The Good Dinosaur. It is an incredible movie, and I will never stop loving it. Up next, we'll be watching a movie that we really didn't need, but I was absolutely blown away with what we got. That is Finding Dory. Absolutely love this movie, so we're going to pop this in and check out Finding Dory. Just finished up watching Finding Dory, and I think this is a very underrated movie in my opinion. I don't think we needed a sequel to Finding Nemo, but I think what we got with Finding Dory was super good regardless. I definitely do like the bigger focus on Dory in this movie. We didn't get a whole lot of her backstory in the first movie, so it was nice to see some of her backstory in this movie. My experience with this movie, I watched it in theaters, I absolutely loved it. This was only, this was 4 years ago, so it wasn't that long ago, but I absolutely loved it in theaters. And I gotta say, the animation in Finding Dory is absolutely incredible. That goes with pretty much every one of their movies, but especially with Finding Dory, I'm just in awe as to how they can animate the water and like the sun coming through the water and the sea life and the sea creatures. The animation just seems like it was super difficult to do, but it all paid off in the end because this is a beautiful looking movie, and I did recently get it on 4K, and the 4K looks incredible too. And Thomas Newman's score for this movie, just like with Finding Nemo, is absolutely incredible. It's probably just as good as that first Finding Nemo movie. Just Thomas Newman, I've come to love his work so much more over the past few years. He also did WALL-E, and he did a great job with that too, but these two Finding Nemo and Finding Dory movies, Thomas Newman has just done an excellent job with those two. And I gotta say, my favorite moment from this movie was probably Dory reuniting with her parents with Thomas Newman's score. Definitely tugs at the heartstrings. I thought it was a great scene. So here's my ranking of the Pixar movies so far. Before this marathon, I didn't think Finding Dory was as good as the Toy Story movies, but watching it this time around, my mind has changed. I'm very excited to be watching this next movie. I also think this one is very underrated, and one that not a lot of people have actually seen. The short film Bow on Letterboxd is actually more popular than this movie, which I think is kind of funny, but we'll be watching Cars 3. I really do love this movie. I think it is the best Cars movie. They improved upon what was great about Cars, and they improved greatly from Cars 2. I love the racing aspect of this, so we're going to pop this in and check out Cars 3. Just finished up watching Cars 3, and after watching this movie again, I honestly wouldn't mind if they made a Cars 4. Like I said before, I do think Cars 3 is the best Cars movie. I think is a lot more exciting, there's a lot more at stake, and I just like the character of Lightning McQueen once again. My experiences with this movie, the first teaser trailer that came out for this movie, I was completely blown away by. I was super excited to see that movie. It just looked like a very dark movie, and the movie itself didn't really turn out to be all that dark, but I was very intrigued by that first trailer. And then I did see it in theaters, and I really enjoyed it. Didn't think it was a perfect movie, and I still don't think it's a perfect movie, but I really did enjoy it. I think it was very interesting that they focused on a new wave of race cars that was coming in and new technology within the racing world. I also really enjoyed the character of Lightning McQueen. He is somewhat of a broken character, frustrated with the fact that his glory days are behind him, and seeing him try to overcome the obstacles that he faces. I thought it was really interesting to watch too. And I think what I love most about this movie is just that it's all about racing. Cars 2 definitely was not a movie focused on racing, but Cars 3 was very much focused on that aspect of racing, and I absolutely love that. And one other thing I really like about this movie is the use of Mater. He wasn't in the movie a whole lot, and which was a good thing. And the times that he was in the movie, I didn't think he was annoying at all. I think this movie was the best Mater we ever had in any Pixar Cars related film or short film. So I really like that about this movie too. And my favorite moment from this movie was Lightning and Cruz. They're kind of racing through the forest at night, and then we see McQueen's like foil suit type of thing start to rip and come off. I thought that was a really cool scene. In addition to all the racing sequences, which I really liked, I gotta say that was probably my favorite moment. Here's my ranking of the Pixar movies so far. I'm actually surprised to say that it does top A Bug's Life. I've been a avid supporter of A Bug's Life, but I do think Cars 3 is a bit better than that now. I'm a little worried about watching this next movie because I'm not sure if I'm going to love it as much as I have, and that is Coco. I really don't know if I'm going to love this as much as I used to, but we'll just have to wait and see. So we're going to pop this in and check out Coco. Alright, just finished up watching Coco, and man oh man, I still love it to this day. Whenever it's been a while since I last watched this movie, I always kind of second guess my 5 out of 5 rating, thinking that that's too high, and telling myself, I'm sure the next time I watch this movie, it'll get dropped down to like a 4.5. But whenever I do rewatch it, it still stays at 5 out of 5. I think this is an incredible movie. I don't think this is as good as all the other Pixar movies I've given a 5 out of 5 to, but I just love the message of family throughout this movie, and I love the music too. It's very great, and to see the Mexican culture in a Pixar movie, I think they did it with a lot of care and passion, and I think it really paid off. When I first saw this movie in theaters, and when I first heard that Remember Me song that they sung at the beginning of the movie, I immediately knew that that was going to be the thing that would make people cry, and sure enough, it did towards the end when Miguel was singing to Coco. There are a lot of scenes I love from this movie, but I'd have to say my favorite scene from this movie is just the ending, where we get to see Coco on the ofrenda and Miguel singing, and we see his other family members playing some instruments as well, and then also seeing Hector being able to cross the bridge. It was a very nice ending to the whole movie. So here's my ranking of all the Pixar movies. I know I didn't say a whole lot about Coco, but I really do love the movie, and it isn't as good as all the other perfect Pixar movies. We are down to the final 3 films of this Pixar movie marathon. It is shortly coming to a close, but the next movie we will be watching is Incredibles 2, a movie that we all waited very long to see, a movie a lot of us were highly anticipating, and a movie a lot of us really did enjoy, including me. So let's pop this in and check out Incredibles 2. Alright, just finished up watching Incredibles 2, and just like the first Incredibles movie, it truly is incredible. We waited 14 years to see a sequel to the first Incredibles movie, and for me it was well worth that very long wait. It's a tie between this and Toy Story 4 as the Pixar movies that I have been the most excited for. I was unbelievably excited to see Incredibles 2, and I was hyped out of my mind to see the movie. I love that this movie wastes no time and picks up right where the first movie left off, continuing the story very seamlessly. I really loved that aspect of this movie. I also really like the family dynamic in this movie too, and I really like the animation too. It looks just like that first Incredibles movie, but it does have some modernity to it, which I think was really cool. And my favorite moment from this movie would probably be the stuff with Jack, seeing more of his powers in this movie, and I always love the scene with him taking on that raccoon. I think it's very funny and very enjoyable. Here's my ranking of the Pixar movies so far. I do think Incredibles 2 is a bit better than the first Incredibles movie. And while I don't really find the villain stuff all that intriguing about this movie, I still think it is very enjoyable nevertheless. Alright, we are down to the final 2 movies for this Pixar movie marathon, and now we'll be watching Toy Story 4. I absolutely love this movie. I think it is very underrated. I'm excited to share more of my thoughts about it after I watch the movie, so let's pop this in and check out Toy Story 4. Alright, just finished up watching Toy Story 4, and I should have waited to see this until tomorrow because 1 year exactly from tomorrow was when I first watched Toy Story 4, and I have loved it ever since I first watched it in the theaters. This movie came out right when I left on a big vacation to Europe for 3 weeks, so I wasn't able to see this movie for several weeks, which I was pretty upset about at first, but eventually I did see it in theaters, and I absolutely loved it. It was just great to see the whole gang back again for what might be the final installment of the Toy Story franchise. If this is the final movie, I think they ended things very well. I love the character of Forky in this movie. He was a very funny character. Definitely provided some great comedic relief throughout this movie. And I also really like that we got to see Bo Peep again. We didn't see a whole lot of her in the first 2 Toy Story movies. She wasn't in Toy Story 3, but it was great to see her once again. And it definitely lended to Woody's decision to part ways with the toys. And the animation in this movie is just absolutely terrific. Very photorealistic. I think the strongest aspect of the animation was the lighting with Bo Peep's lamp, all the little stars or whatever. And then when Bo and Woody were looking at the chandeliers, just all the lights. It was a very beautiful looking movie. And the lights from like the carnival as well just looked incredible. A complaint people have with this movie is the fact that there's not enough Woody and Buzz interaction between the two of them. I definitely would have liked to see more of that, absolutely, but this is definitely a movie focused on Woody. And I think even though they didn't focus too much on the relationship between Woody and Buzz, I think what we got was still really good. And my favorite moment from this movie would be Woody parting ways with the toys, deciding to live life as a lost toy. Very emotional scene for me. So here's my ranking of the Pixar movies. Toy Story 4 is a bit better than Toy Story 3 now. Not as good as Toy Story 2, but it is definitely a close second in my opinion. Alright, we are down to the last movie of this Pixar movie marathon. We're going to close things off with Pixar's latest movie, Onward. Just recently got this on 4K for actually really cheap off of eBay. I'm sure the 4K will look great. I'm looking forward to watching this movie again. I haven't seen it since the theaters, so we're going to pop this in and check out Onward. Just finished up watching Onward, and I absolutely love this movie so much. The first couple trailers for this movie definitely seemed like it was just a simple, fun adventure flick. I was really looking forward to it. I wouldn't think I would give it a perfect rating, but then came along another trailer, and it definitely showed that there quite possibly was going to be some emotional scenes to it, and that was exactly what I got with Onward. Definitely has some emotional scenes, but it is also a very fun adventure film following two brothers, Ian and Barley. It's a relatable movie to me. I think that's why I love it so much. I have brothers myself. I'm the oldest brother, so I definitely see a lot of myself in Barley, but then personality-wise, I definitely see myself a lot in Ian. And this was also the last movie that I watched in theaters before this whole COVID thing started happening. So that's definitely a fun experience I have with this movie. I actually saw it twice in theaters before this whole COVID thing happened. And I love the relationship between Ian and Barley. Definitely progresses quite a bit over the course of the movie. And this kind of leads into my favorite moment of the movie when Ian was sitting on that little cliff, kind of crossing things off of his list, and then realizing that he's done all of that but with his brother. And the animation looks stellar. Very glad I picked this up on 4K because the 4K looks very good. Definitely one of the better looking Pixar 4Ks for sure. I know not many people enjoyed this movie as much as I did, but I think this was a terrific movie, definitely one that speaks to me so much, and I can't wait to watch it more in the future. So here it is. Here is my final ranking of all the Pixar movies. Compared to my previous Pixar ranking, a lot has definitely changed. But this is where all the movies stand for me. You may agree, may disagree, but this is how I rank all the Pixar movies. So there you guys have it. I just finished up marathoning everything to do with Pixar. It has been so much fun to do it this past week. I do this pretty much every year, and it's honestly the highlight of my summers, so thank you guys for watching this video. I know this has been a very, very long video, but I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you stayed till the very end, pat yourselves on the back, because I really do appreciate it. I hope to work at Pixar someday. That is definitely the dream for me. You guys will just have to wait and see if that happens. So, thank you guys for checking out this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. You can find me on social media. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. All the links for those can be found in the description of this video. Thank you guys for watching this very special video. It's been lots of fun, like I said. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.